Hey guys, just wanted to do a quick review on the game Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Now, I just finished this game a few hours ago, and I have to say, guys, it's on my top list, my top five. I have to put it out there. So it's on my top five for sure. Keep in mind, Clair Obscur is my first turn-based game that I have ever experienced, ever. I remember as a kid, I always used to avoid those games. For me, they just, I don't know, they seemed, at a glance, for me, they just seemed boring. That turn-based system, it just wasn't for me. So I thought. Um, so, anyways, yeah, this was my first turn-based game that I've ever experienced, and you know, I remember hearing people say, "Oh man, you should play Clair Obscur. It's a really good game." And I was like, "It's a turn-based game. I don't know if it's for me." Gave it a shot. Fell in love immediately. The combat system is amazing. The turn-based system it's unique. It's really unique, and now I see why it was so popular, and I see why a lot of people were drew into that kind of combat system. But yeah, so got into Clair Obscur, and I have to say the thing that drew me into Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was the story. Oh my God, the story I loved so much. Now, if it's just based on the story alone, I have to put it up there with it's probably my number one. I'm gonna be honest, guys. It's probably my number one when it comes to story. It's just so unique. It's just so unique. Um, I love the character Gustav. The thing about Gustav is he became my favorite character. He became my favorite character. Now, obviously, if you played it, you know. If you haven't, you might wanna, you might not want to keep watching this video because there's a bunch of spoilers that are coming up. You've been warned. But yeah, you know, at the end of Act One, when he's killed off, I'm like, oh my God, there's no way you kill off the main character. So I felt, for me, you start off the game with Gustav. Immediately, you think he's the main character. When he's killed off at the end of Act One, I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? How do you do that? How is this gonna change the tone of the whole game? Now it does change. It definitely changed the tone of the whole game, because we get a new character who comes with a lot of baggage, which I felt immediately, and I didn't know how I felt about that character specifically. But anyways, before I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I just really like the story. But anyways, you know, I love the characters, the story. I love how the game, the whole tone of the game starts off. When you start off at the festival, you got this character Sophie, who's Gustav's ex, and you're talking to all these other characters in the festival, and the way they're talking to Sophie, you're like, oh, is there something wrong with her? Is she sick? Is she dying? Does she have cancer? I don't know. I'm just, these are just things that keep popping up in my head, and maybe they're throwing a party for her as a goodbye. I don't know, but that's what I was thinking. So, you know, when you get towards the lake, and you see those numbers 33, and then you see that figure just drop down that number. Well, actually, it was 34. When you see that figure drop down the number to 33, and you see all these characters behind Gustav and Sophie just disappearing, that right there shocked the hell out of me. I'm like, holy crap, do not tell me that every time this character drops down those numbers, everyone of that age, of that specific age, dies. And that's exactly how it is. Um, and that drew me in. That drew me in so hard. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I have to learn more. I have to know why this is happening, how this is happening, who's doing it. Is this paintress actually, good or evil? Because I was never sold that she was actually um, good and evil, good or evil. I wasn't sold on it, not completely. I'm like, I don't know. It just seems like, immediately everybody's just saying, oh, we have to go out there and just kill the painters. But I'm like, there has to be a lot more to it than that. There has to be. Of course, the expeditioners head out trying to kill the paintress. Trying to locate her. And we got a bunch of expeditioners. You got Gustav, who I thought, like I said, was the main character. You got Mael, who's Gustav's adoptive, daughter. You got Luna and CL, who joined the expedition later on. But anyways, we get to this island where everyone thinks the paintress is at, and immediately when you get there, you're attacked by these Neverons, who are basically the monsters in that island. And also we see Renoir, the man in the white hair. He just comes out of nowhere with his cane, with his fancy cane. He's got that slow walk. He's got that swagger. You can tell he doesn't take any shit. And you're like, what the hell's going on? So all these expeditioners are dying left and right, and Gustav is just trying to survive. And the one thing that I still can't really, I'm gonna have to go back to try to understand it, is when you get there and these expeditioners are all dying, and Gustav is attacked by one of these Neverons. I don't understand why it cuts right there before the Neveron actually attack Gustav, and in the next scene, he's okay. He's survived the attack. But how is it that he survived? Unless that Neveron wasn't actually hostile. I don't know. I might have to go back and rewatch it. Maybe I missed something, or maybe it was explained and I didn't catch it. But I'm definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch that because I didn't understand that part. But anyways, we get there, all these things happen, and then you got Gustav trying to find the surviving expeditioners alone. He ends up running into Lune at a point where you thought Gustav he's just sat down, he's just given up, he's done. Lune appears, she joins the expedition. Then they head out to try to find the other survivors. They run into Mael, CL. There's a bunch of other characters that join later on. But what hurt me the most in this whole story was, when Gustav died. The way that he died, of course, it's respectable. It's honorable. I mean, he died protecting Mael. Even though Mael told him to run away, he's like, no, I can't run. I mean, obviously, how are you going to run and just leave basically your daughter there to die? He wasn't going to do that. He went out like a G. But it sucked. It just sucked that he had to die. And then this new character, just out of nowhere, jumps in, saves Mael, Verso. The character's name is Verso, and Verso for me was a very complicated character. Like I said, when we first run, he's first shown in the game, he's like you can see. I don't know. For me, I felt it. I saw it and I felt it. I'm like, this character has a lot of baggage. He's full of shit. He has a lot of secrets. And I started actually hating the character because I knew there was a bunch of crap that he wasn't telling the rest of the group that could put them in danger. I felt like he knew a lot more about the white-haired man. That was the first, for me, that was the first strike when he first jumped in to save Mael, and then Renoir didn't attack him after. I'm like, why didn't he attack this guy? Unless it was because Verso was just strong. He was really powerful, so Renoir wanted to avoid, any kind of potential danger to himself. So he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna fight Verso. I'd rather, leave. That was my thinking. It was either that, or something told me. I'm like, either that or this guy is in all this with Renoir, and he's just playing the rest of the group. He's just using them for another reason. I was waiting for the moment where he was just gonna turn around and just look at them like I really was waiting for that moment in the game where he was just gonna turn around and just look at the group like, I gotcha. Now I'm gonna fuck all of y'all up. I was really waiting for that, but it was more complicated than that. Yes, he had secrets. Yes, he had a lot of baggage. There was a lot of things that he just wasn't telling the group, even though he should have at times, because he put them in a lot of you know danger where they could have been more prepped. I guess you can say they could have been more prepped before going into the dangers that they did. But there was a lot more to Verso. Verso was hiding secrets. Yeah, we learned later on that he's actually the son of Renoir and son of the paintress, but there was even a lot more than that, which actually shocked the hell out of me when we finally learned that, yeah, he's the son of the Renoir and the paintress or whatnot, but, you know, the fact that he wasn't real. Now that was crazy to me when we find out that Verso, the real Verso, was already dead, and this was just basically a painting, created by his family, who just didn't know how to let him go, who didn't know how to let the real Verso go. So they created this doppelganger, and it was crazy. The whole story. I'm like, when I learned about that, I'm like, oh my god, this story is insane. This story is insane. I've never experienced a story like this in any game. So the more we kept, all these revelations, we kept learning about all these revelations. I'm like, oh my god, I want to learn more and more and more about the story. And then I started liking Verso, even though, yeah, like I said, he was hiding a lot of shit from his friends. But I mean, there was a reason why he. I mean, you gotta understand him too. I mean, you got his friends, yeah. He's trying to stop his own family, but at the same time, he does love his family. But he knows that what they're doing is wrong. Um, and at the same time, he doesn't want to live himself. He just doesn't want to live. He's tired of being immortal. He's been living for too long. And another reason is that he just knows that he shouldn't be living in the first place. He shouldn't be. He wants his family to learn to let go of the real Verso. Which for me, I mean, that whole story, that Verso's background, it was just crazy. It was amazing. Um, this game, I don't know. There's just nothing negative that I can say about the game. There truly isn't. So we keep getting deeper and deeper into the story, and then we learn more about Mael. And something told me too, something was telling me as I was playing the game. And I think I actually mentioned it in one of my streams. By the way, guys, if you guys have not yet followed me on Twitch, make sure you guys do so. It is EdxStream. I'll be posting it somewhere in the video. But yeah, we learn more about Mael, and Mael, when we learn more about Mael, the revelations with her was insane, because something told me that you can see immediately once we got to the island that there was some kind of connection there between her and some of the Nevrons that weren't hostile. Like even with the chroma, like she just understood the whole chroma and the Nevrons and everything that was on the island. She understood it better than the rest of the group. It was like talking to her. I think she even said that at some point in the game where she felt like it was all talking to her. And she was even getting flashbacks and whatnot, and I'm like, wow, she has a unique connection to this place. Either she's just special, or there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And when we find out, oh my god, so she was actually Verso's sister. She was actually a paintress herself. And that from when I learned that, I'm like, oh my god, this story just can't get any better, can it? It just can't. And then also finding out that the paintress wasn't I knew from the beginning. She wasn't really bad. I won't say that she was good either, but she wasn't, because I mean she had fault in everything bad that was happening to the people on Lumiere. Of course, you can't take that away. But she was warning them with the numbers. She wasn't really. Every time she brought down the numbers, she wasn't doing the killing herself. That was the Gamage was all Renoir. She was basically, sending out a warning to the people of Lumiere, which I thought was crazy. Which I thought was crazy the way that whole thing, was set up to make you think that the painters was actually, the evil, the villain. But I knew better from the beginning. I don't know what it was, but something just told me it wasn't that simple. Um, the one thing that I have to say, guys, let me finish this up. At the end, at the end when we finally, learned everything there is, and when you fight Renoir, for me, if there's one negative thing that I can say probably about the game is I felt like Renoir for being the final boss. When he turned into his curator form, which that was a crazy deception for him to, he was helping us before as the curator in his curator form, and he actually happened to be Renoir. That was crazy. But anyways, when he turned into his curator form, I'm like, man, this fight is gonna be tough because there was a lot of tough fights in the game, a lot of tough fights. But I felt like he wasn't really that tough. If anything, I think I beat him on my first try, to be honest, guys. So that for me was a little bit of a bummer. I felt like he should have been a little bit more challenging, but yeah, it was still cool. It was still cool. Cool fight, an amazing scene between him and Mael and the rest of the characters. Because Lune jumped in, to talk to him. CL did as well. It was a really cool um, finale to an epic game. Especially the one crazy part was at the end when you get to choose how do you want which story do you want to see? Do you want to see Versal's ending or Mael's ending? Of course, I went with Versal's ending, even though Mael I feel like was probably my favorite character towards the end of the game. But I feel because Versal was was the pinpoint of why everything happened the way it did, even though it wasn't his fault. But essentially, this whole thing happened because his parents, well, his mother couldn't let go of her son, of Versal. So, after learning everything that Versal's been through and him not wanting to live this way, and him knowing that what his family are doing is wrong, after learning all of that, I'm like, I have to go with Versal's story because I felt bad for the guy. I felt bad, I started off hating him. Towards the middle, I was going back and forth. Do I like him? Do I hate him? What the hell's going on? And then towards the end, I'm like, man, I love this character. I love this character. I love his story. I love Mael's story as well. But I don't know. I just really felt bad for Verso. Um, so yeah, his ending it was sad but understandable. It was sad but understandable and respectful and kind of honorable that he wanted to go out that way. And yeah, that was it. I mean, I'm gonna have to go and play the game again, and this time choose Mael's ending. Explore more of the map because there was a lot of areas that I really didn't explore because I was streaming. I really wanted to just finish the story, go through the story for everyone. But I'm definitely gonna have to go back and play the game again and really explore, try to hit that 100% on the game to finish the game at 100%. But yeah, guys, an amazing game. Characters, story, combat system, amazing. I would definitely play another turn-based game, 100%. I have grown. There's a newfound respect for turn-based games for me, and I have to admit that. I feel so stupid that I have always avoided turn-based games all my life, but this has changed my mind 1,000% on turn-based games. All right, guys. Post your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Have you played the game, or you should? And if you haven't, and you haven't ever played a turn-based game, I highly recommend that you do give this one a shot. And if you end up not liking it, you come back to me and call me a piece of shit if you want. But I'm almost 1,000% sure that you're gonna love it, like I do. Um, yeah, I'm really hoping that they make a sequel to this, or a prequel. I mean, a sequel I don't think would make sense because of the way this one ends. I mean, I would have to see Mael's ending. Maybe Mael's ending. With Mael's ending, a sequel would be possible, but with Versal's ending, I can't really see a sequel to this game. A prequel, I could definitely see. A prequel would be amazing. Play as different expeditioners. That would be crazy. Um, but yeah, post your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. Now, for me is just thinking on what game to stream next. 10,000 subscriber is the goal / dream for my name is El-EdStream.